us in that.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any disclosures or declaration of conflicts from any of the commission members?
No.
Nope. Okay. I am looking for,
Make a motion to approve the agenda as posted for
I
July
second.
23rd at 6 PM here at City Hall.
okay.
The
We have
second
a
then?
second, so go ahead, vote.
Said I second. Oh, yeah. Aye. Sorry.
Aye. Okay, and review and possible approval of the meeting minutes from July 10th, 2024 for the Planning Commission meeting. Have you guys all had a chance to review those?
Mhm.
Any
Yes.
corrections? Okay.
My name's spelled wrong in one spot, but otherwise, no corrections. It's,
You want to make a motion?
I
with
move
that-
that we approve the minutes
With that. change?
with the name misspelling correction on item G. Second it.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I really don't have anything to report. So any of you, the planning commissioners have anything to report?
Nope.
Okay. Darren,
Yes, so I just want to let everybody know that we have hired a new planning and zoning administrator as Emily. She was the clerk, the licensing and permitting clerk. She's moved up to that position. So we're looking forward to have her and help her bring her on and learn the ropes.
Welcome. Good to
yes,
have you.
I'm
Yeah,
excited.
So she'll be reaching out to different people as she needs to and just know that that's where it's coming from. As far as anything else, I think it's just things that are on the agenda. I'll wait till then.
and our attorney, Matt, do you have anything?
I don't. I'm happy to comment as the items come up later.
Okay, yeah, and you've been busy getting us ordinances to approve, so thank you. Okay, so we'll move right into our business items. The first one is discussion of possible action on including a statement of belief or opening prayer into the Planning Commission agenda.
I asked this to be put on. I believe we're a city with faith and beliefs, and I believe the city council shows that with that on, they have it on their agenda. And I was wondering why we didn't have it on our agenda. We still need to be strong in everything we do. And this city is ran by the city council and the people of the city. And so I would make a motion that we approve that and ask it be put on the agenda.
I second it. Aye.
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 Okay, we're good. So that will be on our agenda from now on. Thank you. Okay, business item E2, discussion and possible recommendation on a zone change application submitted by Ronald Dirksen, tax ID number T-3-0-27-411. The current zoning is highway HC, highway commercial. The proposed zoning is BMP, business and manufacturing zone.
So do you want me to give,
Questions?
do you want me to give a quick report? So essentially, this was on your agenda 2 weeks ago. We tabled it for some technical errors, but so it's back before you. Brandon Pierce has submitted the zone change application, and he's done that on behalf of Ronald Dirksen. Their representative is Derek Hall, who is here tonight to answer any questions or anything such as that. I don't know if there's other questions you might still have from 2 weeks ago for me on this. If you are, you can ask questions.
Anyone? I didn't have any questions.
Well, we could ask, I have a couple of questions. Nope. I just wanted clarification. Is this a new parcel being created?
It is not.
It is not. So that's all the question I have.
Okay.
Okay,
Currently zoned highway commercial?
It is correct. In the application, it states that it's highway commercial going for the BMP zone. And in the general plan, we checked that. This was actually been on our agenda for a while. Riker actually went in there in the general plan and in the staff comments. Basically, there is a comment that, or a portion that he put on that agenda item sheet there and staff comments. It says this area supports a variety of commercial enterprises. This may include, and this comes right out of the general plan. It's a paragraph out of there. This may include the highway commercial, planned commercial, M1, light industrial, or business and manufacturing zones, or any other similar commercial oriented zone. So that's comes right out of the general plan, that statement. So, and I stated that 2 weeks ago as well.
if not, I'm going to open the public hearing. So public input is sought on a zone change application submitted by Ronald Dirksen, tax ID number T-3-0-27-411. The current zoning is HC, highway commercial. The proposed zoning is BMP, business and manufacturing zone. Okay, if there is anyone here that would like to make a comment, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and you can have 3 minutes. No? No takers? Okay, all right. Okay, any other further discussion on this, commissioners?
I think it was answered. Did a very good presentation last meeting, very clear and everything else. If it's in,
I watched all the YouTube videos. I was very impressed. And it seems like it just fits right into this definition here, which
Yeah.
I don't, yeah,
Mhm.
so.
And in the absence of neighbors coming and commenting, I was also thinking about how if I had to choose between highway commercial and this, I would much rather have this next to me because it's a lot lower impact. And I also like that it's a tech-oriented business, which is friendly to higher paying jobs in our area. So I think from an economic development perspective, it makes a lot of sense as well.
Right, yes, I agree with all the comments. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
a closed public. Did you close?
Oh, no, I closed it, didn't I?
Okay.
Didn't hear you close it, but
Oh, I did, you did. I thought I
close it
did.
again.
Okay,
If you did, you could close it again just for clerical.
okay, we will now close the public hearing for business item E2, and I'm open for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this. It complies with the zoning requirements. It's a good, clean business. I think we should welcome companies like this in our great city and help them to succeed, and thank them for the investment, and also thank them for creating employment in our city.
I second the motion.
Okay, and I'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, so,
Chairman, also just wanted to say this will still be, has one more public hearing at the city council level before it's complete.
okay, so any recommendation, did you recommend it for approval
To
to
send it
city
to the
council?
city council
Yes, we need that. All right, thank you.
for
Okay.
their consideration.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to business item E3, discussion and possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating Tocqueville City Code 10-9 agricultural districts to consolidate the two agricultural zones with a minimum lot area of 0.5 acre.
Okay.
Let's hear from Darren first.
Just one sec, I'm getting there.
Page 25 of the packet.
25.
Yeah, it's a ways down.
Yeah, it's a big pack.
Mhm.
70
Yeah,
pages.
page 25.
Yeah.
That's weird. Let me just, sorry, why I'm having an issue with that. That's agricultural, right? The agenda item sheet.
It's on page 20.
23.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, the item sheet's there. I was just looking
I'm
at the
sorry.
ordinance
There
itself,
you
it's on
go.
25.
All right, so just so that the background on this, the ordinance was drafted at the request of the Planning Commission at the meeting on that 3/13/2024. This ordinance consolidates the two general, the agricultural zones into a single zone with a minimum lot area of a half acre, or the R120. So this was asked in that meeting to consolidate the two zones. It's been a while since we talked about this, but these changes that are before you, and you can see there the proposed changes that were done was basically removing the reference to A1 and A.5, amending the first sentence of the purpose to refer only to the agricultural district and not to A.5 district or the A1 district. The consolidating of the uses for both agricultural districts into a single allowed use table. And then removal of the home occupation as a rule, because that's a permit now. It's not a conditional use or anything
Right.
such as that. Amending the 10-9-3 to be a physical restrictions, and then amending the maximum density to be one dwelling, single family agricultural lot per parcel, or lot/parcel. So those are the changes before you. I hope you were able to take a look at those. If you have any questions, I'm willing to do my best.
I got questions.
Yeah.
Being-
I'm still not comfortable with this. I still think this is not in the best interest. And let me come back and I'll
Oh, you're
say my points and things. This will double the agricultural zone to let 1 acre land open, split his land into 2 half acres where there could be 2 houses there now instead of just 1 house. I don't think this is fair to the people that bought land before, that all expected to have 1 house per 1 acre there. I think this will impact our water. This will impact the roads. This will impact the density, and the proper studies have not been done. I will also make a statement that I believe when this was requested by the former chairman, that there was a conflict of interest when he requested this, because his wife's trust is the largest agricultural landowner in the city, which that is a benefit because now you can split your land and sell it. I also believe, I know some of the planning commissioners want the chance for affordability, and I believe we have a responsibility to provide affordability in the community, but I don't think this is a way to do it. I believe this takes the rights away from the budding property owners. There's no way now that they would have to come in and be notified that now there could be 2 houses next to them instead of on each side, which is 4 houses now, instead of just 2 houses, and with the setbacks there. So I still tell you that I'm strongly against it. It will cut my own throat because I have the land that's perfectly, and I could double my acreage for home sites and everything else, up to over 100 home sites on my own property. And I believe that we have a responsibility to the community and to our city not to use any zoning or changes for the benefit of yourself. And I'm a strong believer of that. I also will agree that this would be good for the people of the 1 acres that want to split and sell their land. The current cost for a building site here in the city, I did a little review and asked, it's over $250,000 a lot. And if you take a 1 acre lot that's selling for $250,000 and you split it into 2 half acre lots, and it's still, they're selling for 250,000. And so it's not a benefit for affordable housing. I just think it's bad zoning. I think it's bad planning. And I would be open up for any suggestions and things like that. You did a good job on what you guys did. You did a good job on setting the sheets up, what's allowed and everything else. But Darren, if they split their lots, do they still have to come in front of you and in front of us and then notify the property owner that they're splitting their lots and doing a parcel map?
So they, excuse me, they would have to go through the subdivision process, even if it's a one parcel. We have a minor lot subdivision process, which is essentially the same process as going through a full on, if you want to do 10 lots or 100 lots or 50 lots. That's just pretty much the same process right now. So yeah, they would have, and they would have to give dedicated roadways if there wasn't one. Yeah, the minimum frontages would apply. Right now, as you look at the physical restrictions here, you've got between 1 acre zoning is 100-foot frontage. The half acre is 80-foot frontage, and that would be, and so that 100-foot frontage goes away, and the 80, yeah. So as you see right there. So it kind of mirrors what the half acre residential is, but allows you to have residential. There are some other things that we could look at as well, because now if you're ag, if you're not half acre agricultural, the residential that you just passed last, or that you sent on to the planning or city council, the chickens and those are just permitted uses, kind of in the you don't have to have a permit for a conditional use permit for any of those. You don't go through that process for that residential with that, but you got the same half acre. I see what Dean's talking about, and there was a little bit of controversy at the time that this was proposed, but we took the information, went forward with it and proposed, and it took a little time. We apologize for that. Had staff changes. We've had different things such as that have held it up. But it is sitting in front of you with those changes and the things that we discussed that night. So
And it also doubles the animals, and don't put it by me. I want people to have the right to have their animals, but now if you got 2 half-acre lots next to you, they could double, because those lots are big enough to put the 4, 5, 6 cows and things like that, and double that to 16 cows, and double that on the other side to 32 cows.
So the point system that we have currently for residential, does not apply to the ag zone.
So you could have a density of more animals and without any notification to the neighbor, and they have the right. The other thing, if we put this in and pass it, then it's hard for us to turn down anything for any people. We just, because it's an allowable use and it's an allowable thing, and it is an allowable use, but they still have to go through the proper, pay the fees, come through and have the hearings and things like that.
Right.
I think that's what we need, that protection for the property owners and for the city, because we already know we don't have enough water for what we need to do it. And this could double the water.
So keeping the ag, because right now your ag half acre does exist. That zoning was adopted. So there is that zone that exists. So you've got your ag half acre, and you've also got your ag 1 acre and bigger. Also, obviously, on both of those, the minimum is a 1 acre. The other one's a minimum is a half acre, essentially. So the thought process was behind that, and I think the discussion that was had was talking about not making people have to go through a subdivision process.
Basically saving them $1,000 and not going through the process.
Yeah.
But that stops the people next door knowing what's going on. That's my feelings. And you've heard it before.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I agree with what you said about the affordability. I don't think it solves the affordability at all. That's my professional opinion, given the
Right.
fact that I'm in real estate. Everything just goes up and up, no matter the size of the lot. And I remember before when we were going over this, wasn't this, like you said, I'm not sure, the former chairman, wasn't it him who,
Requested it.
yeah, okay. So,
Some discussion at the city council level. I'd have to go back and review. I would actually have to go back and review. The city council spoke about it as well when we actually did the half acre zoning district. And I would have to review that.
I have a question. So what is the main benefit for changing it? Because in my mind, it seems like it's fine the way it is. Like, it doesn't seem broken to me the way it is.
That's correct.
Staff acted on the direction from the planning commission to redo this, and this is why it's before you. You guys requested it on the 3rd or the
No, we,
March 13th meeting.
One person requested it.
Well, so we moved forward.
I think we need less laws than more laws and ordinances.
Yeah, the one comment I have is if, and Darren, correct me if I'm wrong here, but in terms of updating the table, home occupation was just pulled off.
Yeah, because home occupations are a permit now rather than a license, yes.
So that could be one thing in terms of trying to clean up the ordinance that could have some discussion now, and in terms of making adjustments. I mean, you guys still have the ability to say, well, let's make these edits, make these changes. If they're substantial enough, I would recommend noticing it up again and giving the public an opportunity to look at it. So if you said instead of consolidating down to one ag zone, and you wanted to keep it as is with the two separate, but wanted to make some minor changes, I would say let's draft those changes and notice it up another time for a public hearing before making any recommendation, move it forward.
And to that comment, I believe this allowed use table is a really easy way for people to see that, rather than if you see in the ordinance, we've changed it from just a verbiage to actually bring it down to where people can easily see that. It makes it a little bit cleaner.
I agree, the
I
table
agree.
does.
So
I agree with what you said completely. We need more input and more information.
And I say, if it doesn't need fixed, let's just leave it. And then if it comes in, we can look at it a lot of time. But the home occupancy, if you look back, you pretty much just pulled that out. Is that correct?
Home occupation.
home occup-
Because it's a,
So the definition of home occupancy, we have that people now work from home. Their offices are in their home. We have mom and pa making jelly from home, selling their apricots, fruit from home and stuff. It hasn't been a problem. We want them to do that. But isn't that under home occupancy?
So the way yeah, so basically what that is right now is it's just a permitted use in the residential zone, but they have to get a permit to be able to do it. So if you wanted to run do your bookkeeping for your construction business out of your house, you come in and do a licensing permit. It used to be a conditional use. So every time anybody wanted to do that in a home occupation, they had to come in and go through that process, which was pulled out of the residential a while ago. And we just need to, it still has it as here because they don't need to go through that process in a conditional use. It was just sitting here. It was sitting here in this ordinance.
But it's not back in here with the new table.
That's not, because it's not permitted. It's not needed.
it's permitted,
It's permitted.
period.
Permitted. It's just a permitted use. It's like, you don't need to have like a building permit. A building permit, you don't need to come in and go through a process. It's a permitted use. It's as long as you're in compliance with building codes and things. I guess that's kind of a bad analogy, but.
I agree with the district attorney. The attorney. I'm so used
Idiot.
is, but that would have to pull not put the two tables together for the 1 and the 0.05.
We can keep
I don't
them
know.
separate.
It
It's up
doesn't-
to you guys.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect the home occupancy because there is some good protections that you know what's going on in the home. I mean, luckily the state hasn't got over local people making jam and selling it. There's so much home occupancy now of people on the internet selling and everything else. Are we going to nickel and dime them to death, or are we just going to let them go as it has been done?
And that's kind of the way it's set up right now, is you know, that we just, this was sitting in there, like I said, it was a home occupation. It was sitting there, it needed to be pulled out of this ordinance. So we pulled it, you know, that. And like I say, you can see those proposed changes.
I would suggest we go to public comment. I mean.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's a permitted use. We could leave this as a permitted use in here, just like it is in residential.
Yeah.
You know, but you just, instead of going, you just still need to just come in and do a permit license.
Just leave it as permitted. They just make it so that they have to come in and do a license, which is what they have to do now. It would just state it in here.
Mirror what we're doing in residential.
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah.
Mirror what is in residential. Let's open the public hearing portion and see if there's anyone here that wants to comment on business item E3, discussion on amending and restating agricultural districts to consolidate the 2 agricultural zones into 1. Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
Kathy Bentz, 370 West Shangri-La, and I think I'm just echoing what was said, but I just thought it was interesting. At the last city council meeting, it was all about water, and we heard from the Water Conservancy District, and the guy got up and said, our water resources are very close to their limits, and that's the reason we implement these new standards of having all this excess water use surcharge. So that was his opening statement, is our water resources are very close to their limits. And so to just throw this out here where suddenly we're taking this 1 acre thing and we're saying, oh, look at that, you can put 2 houses now, and you can have 2 places that are going to need to use more water instead of they're going to have to use this 0.59 strategy of using only that much water. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. And then, as I have said multiple times, my understanding from looking at the master plan, general plan survey is that the residents in Tokerville overwhelmingly said, we don't want a lot of development. We don't want lots of houses. We're doubling with Firelight eventually. We're going to double, and it's going to change this whole community. But this is just another thing that is going to take away open space, and it just doesn't seem like it reflects what anybody, and I'm sure lots of people want it, but I mean, the majority who responded and in essence elected by voting on that survey, they didn't want that. So anyway, I just hope that it won't pass. Thanks.
Any other comment? Wayne?
Yeah. Darren Val, I'm a city council member.
Come to
I'm not
the,
supposed to intervene with anything in this meeting.
you can still speak as a citizen.
Can I represent myself as a public?
As a citizen.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I don't want to start a precedence because
No.
I don't want
You're a
trouble.
citizen of the
Okay,
city.
Wayne, state your name and address, please.
Wayne Olson, 160 West Old Church Road. So I've seen this before. What I want you guys to do is look at the reasons why this was developed. I seen it half hour ago when I read it. Look at the reasons where they're at, is why this came about and the reasoning to get it. And if you look at those reasonings, it's to preserve. The major reason is to preserve. This is to preserve the agricultural zones, to preserve the agricultural. So I don't understand how by doubling up and splitting your lot, how you preserve anything. So I'm just asking you to look at that and read that, reasons why, and see if that makes sense to you. And am I okay? I don't want to be not okay saying this.
It says right there.
Yeah, you're fine to make your comments.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because it's there and it makes no sense. I know where this came from. If I was going to preserve agricultural and keep it as a small town, it goes there. I can't really recite what it says, but none of this agrees with that in my opinion. Thank you.
thanks, Wayne.
I know the reasons are in there, but I can't tell you where they're at.
That's right. So it is in that beginning purpose statement.
Yeah, that is.
I'm trying to get it to it too.
Preserve appropriate land. permanent agricultural
Page
use.
25.
Yeah, it just keeps rolling back the other way.
So my ask was, am I reading this wrong?
Public comment.
So
Close or
I guess I don't understand. If we had 2 agricultural zones to begin with,
we had one and then they added the half acre about a year ago. And that was
You
added.
probably ought to close the public hearing if you're going
oh,
to
yes,
discuss.
let's close the
Unless
public
unless
hearing.
there's more people who'd like to speak.
Good, that's all that's here. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on business item E3 about the combining the agricultural zones. So what is the benefit?
So right now,
Combining them?
right now you have 2 agricultural zones, just like you have different residential zones. Because you've got an R115, you've got an R120, you've got an R112. Those are just depending on how many square footage the lot is, minimums. So the purpose or the thought process that went behind this was to create 2 different agricultural zones. So that's what they did. They created a 1 acre one with the minimum acreage of that, and then it's a half acre one, I believe. And I have to research this, but the half acre zone has less uses, permitted uses. And there's different square footages, there's different recommendations in that. So you like those 2 zones. So then what this was to combine those both into one zone with a minimum of half acre. As you see there, we've taken out the physical restrictions for the 1 acre district there and just put it to the half acre ones. I think some of I'd have to go back, but we mostly took a lot of what you're looking at is a hybrid between the 1 acre zone and the half acre zone of agricultural.
Okay, so if someone owns an acre agricultural land and they want to subdivide it into 2 parcels, then they couldn't do that before we,
They wouldn't go through a zone change. They would not have to go through a zone change to a half acre. It eliminates 1 step.
And it eliminates 1 fee,
Yeah.
$1,000 fee.
yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
I think the zone change, like you said earlier, is a protection,
Yeah.
having to go through that process.
I agree.
And I don't see a reason to do this.
I don't see a reason to do it either.
I don't
After all
either.
the discussion.
I don't either. Matt, do you have
Except that
any?
it seems more efficient from now we only have one thing that we have to look at and refer to. But I don't think that's a good reason.
Yeah, and the only comments I would have is if there was no action, and I think this has been discussed, you still have 2 ag zones. One is the 1 acre minimum, one is the half acre. Just to do a quick comparison, if it's half acre, you have to have a minimum of 80 feet frontage.
Mhm.
It's 1 acre, you have 100 feet.
Mhm.
Both are dwelling. Then the other difference is if you're half acre, it allows for a maximum height of 35 feet. If it's 1 acre, then it goes down to 25 feet.
Which is different.
So a little different height restrictions.
Yeah.
I don't know one way or the other. Other than that, your setbacks are going to be the same. Really, by keeping 2 separate zones, if somebody wants to say, I've got 2 acres and I want to carve off a half acre and sell that, they would have to get the zone change as well as the subdivision process.
And therefore, then their neighbors have a chance to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission and state their concerns,
That's right.
right?
They would. There's your general plan is calling it out as agricultural. So that's, it doesn't mean just because it's called agricultural, they would automatically get that zone. They are entitled with the zone that they have right now.
Okay. So if we decide that we want to make a motion to,
I'll make a motion.
okay, but to not combine them, still clean them up, right? With the table and stuff.
So attorney I think that would be significant changes.
Yeah, if you're looking
so
to
we
have the
go back.
table be updated, then yes, I would, we could make a motion tonight saying, let's make these edits, whatever that is. We would incorporate the drafts and bring it back before the planning commission, have it noticed up for public comment.
Okay,
And,
Two tables in the two different zoning.
right.
right.
But right now, it works, they have the rights and everything else.
Mhm.
So it's not broken.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we do what you just said.
I state it.
Well, that we don't recommend to change it, but that we clean up the tables and put it back forth to the planning commission and public.
Two separate.
Hang on.
Can you clarify the changes you'd like to see in your motion?
Why don't you do it, Dean?
Okay, you want me to make a motion?
Well, I'm,
So the motion that I would add to hers is that we do not forward this to the city council and that we continue working on the existing ordinances for the existing zones and just clean up the table so it's more clear in understanding what's in those zones, but don't change anything else.
I second that.
Okay, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 All right. So let's move on to business item E4, discussion and possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating Tokerville City Code 10-15D-4, zoning districts to modify the permitted uses within the extraction industry overlay zone. And Darren, would you?
So on this, what we did is basically the background here again. The proposed ordinance is drafted due to the MU20 zone district amending and approving by the city of the council on June 21st of 23. The use of the extraction industries overlay zone is no longer included as a conditional use in that zone. So under that, we took that zoning district and also you're going to on some other zones tonight. A lot of these changes to the overlay the extraction overlay industry zone, it was permitted uses in some of these other zones and we didn't allow it as a permitted use. Your highway commercial is going to be one of these. It's kind of like our chickens and thing. One changes, it changes three other ordinances.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're doing here. But the proposed changes, we're replacing the multiple use zoning district MU20 as established in Chapter 11, Article A of this title with the BMP Business Manufacturing Zone and the M1 Light Industrial Zone as established in the Chapter 13, Article A and the Chapter 14, Article A of this title. So, questions?
Question. So does this still allow extraction, excavation and everything in U20 zone?
No, it does not.
It does not. So
No.
let me ask you how that affects me. I'm MU20. I got 45 acres. And if I need to level or terrace my land, I couldn't do that.
you can do that under a grading permit still. You can't, so a gravel industries, is basically you can't turn your property into a gravel pit and start mining and selling property and having stockpiling and crushing and all of those operations with inside that.
I'm good with that because I've already been offered money to make mine a gravel pit.
Yeah, there's a lot of
There you
good,
go.
a lot of good material in those hills.
That's all.
Okay.
So basically, this is just taking that out, what is it called? Extraction industry out of this zone.
So,
is what-
so what we're doing is you're changing the extraction industry. Yes, you are correct. Sorry. You are changing the extraction industry overlay zone to pull those out. Correct. And you can see there in the highlighted areas what we're talking about. It's the, on D15D-4 zoning districts. Basically, we added the BMP manufacturing zone, the light industrial zone, established by Chapter 13 in the article, and that's just what I just talked about. Then you can see the red line there of multiple zoning of MU as established in the same article.
So this is, to me, this seems like it's just making things clearer and more specific in our general policies.
Correct. And later in the meeting, there's another one where it references back to the extraction overlay zones. We're just pulling it out of that one to be consistent. Yes, because there's a lot of inconsistencies. These are cleanup type items.
Yeah, last year when we were working on one of these, we realized it was in that zone
Yes.
and we went,
Yeah.
we don't want it in that zone.
Because right
Yeah.
now, when you look at the code right now, well, we won't go there. We'll get there in a minute.
So that's just all this is. Okay, any other questions before we open the public hearing? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing on business item E4, discussion and possible recommendation on amending and restating the Tokerville City Code as far as the extraction industry overlay zone relates to MU 20, right? So, any takers? No? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on that and ask commissioners if you have any other questions.
Nope.
Okay, I will take a recommendation then,
I'll
or
make,
a motion, sorry.
I'll make a motion that we recommend and send this to the city council for adoption and approval.
I second it.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. And next, business item E5, discussion and possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating Tokerville City Code 10-14A, colon M-1 light industrial zone to create an allowed use table modifying physical restrictions and special regulations for M1 zones. Okay, Darren, do you want to?
Yeah, so basically here again, on this, so we're just getting into the actual light industrial zone. So there's in the background on your agenda item sheet, this, it was drafted when it came before the Planning Commission in March. This draft addressed the uses, physical restrictions, specializing regulations for the light industrial zone. And so they're again putting the proposed changes, we're consolidating into a table, the conditional and uses are permitted uses and conditional uses into an allowed table. The addition of extraction industries uses to be consistent with that last one we just did. The addition of other uses similar to the above and judged by the Planning Commission in harmony. That's one of the items in the conditional or permitted uses table. The reinstatement of general as printing and copying, the reinstatement of restaurant as a restaurant and fast food establishment, and the removal of golf courses as a permitted use, the removal of a liquor store as a permitted use, and the addition of 80-foot frontage unless otherwise approved by the conditional use permit. The revisions of the rear yard setbacks from 20 to 10 feet, and the addition of a special regulation detailing regulations for increased height setbacks abutting a residential zone for protection of the residential zones. So if you look at the actual ordinance there, you can see as we came down, we took all of the narrative and put that into a table of a conditional or a permitted use. Then as the highlighted ones are the ones that we added as far as permitted uses or a conditional use. That highlighted, we just wanted to establish that as a little bit better, more clear. When we reviewed this with other cities in the Washington County, this seemed to be that statement. And then that last other use is similar to the above as judged by the Planning Commission to be in harmony with the character and intent of the zone. That's kind of it goes along to be consistent with what you've done, what we have in all of the other zones. This did not have that. Then if you scroll down just a little bit farther there, Daisy, it talks about the special regulations, and that's what I just kind of commented on. And so I don't know if you have any questions on what was done there. Yes, Dean.
The only one big problem I have with this is on the new chart that you have of permitted uses.
What? Okay.
Correctional facilities are permitted. It's not even a special use permit, not even a conditional use permit. They are permitted use under this table.
I have that same question.
So do
Because
I.
convalescent or
Yeah, and we
conditional.
can't have that.
That's
We
my
just can't have
question
that.
too.
First off, I would love to pull it completely out. Correctional facilities are a drain on a community. They are no tax dollars to a community. And I've seen it bankrupt counties putting correctional facilities. And when I say that, we can put jails in and everything under a public facility for ourselves. But under correctional facilities, I'll tell you a story.
Okay.
The industrial park I helped create and stuff, we had ICE companies, private companies come in and want to put in jail, prisons and stuff for the ICE because they make money. And we had to fight that because it was a use in there. And when they do crimes in your building, in your city, you have to prosecute them. When they kill each other, you have to take care of that. You got to bury them. You got to pay for it. Everything happens when it's in your city.
Wow.
And so
So that was,
least off, that needs to be conditional.
Right.
My recommendation is pull correctional facilities out. Period. We don't need them. We're not big enough.
that's why we're putting it before you guys, definitely.
Rest of the stuff I have no problem with. But
Yeah, that was not something that was added by staff. That was something that was in the existing document. It's already been there. It's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Nobody
So-
probably ever thought that they would come out here. What's around the corner and what they have to deal with. And it's big business having correctional facilities, and big companies just come in and bulldoze you right over.
But it's not big business for the city. It's not good for the city.
It's no benefit at all.
Okay.
Attorney, do you have any comments on those?
No, I don't have anything. Certainly, this is why we have the commission to give input and discussion on uses. If the motion was to exclude that, I don't think this needs to go through any additional public notice. It would be a recommendation with that change. That's minor enough that it can move forward.
Okay. Okay. Then let's open the public hearing if we, and see if, okay, we're going to open the public hearing on business item E5, discussion and possible recommendation about allowed use table for M1 industrial zone. Anyone? No? We have a quiet group tonight. Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing on this and ask if there's any other questions.
I have just one other comment, or I guess it is a question. Office general is a conditional use,
Yeah.
expected conditions,
So
or, 'cause to
as
me, light
a
industrial.
light industrial, it could do that. That's, I'd actually tell you the truth, that's one reason that the applicant for the zone change tonight went with the BMP, because it is a permitted use in the BMP zone for that type of facility. So you could change that if you'd like, or recommend that as well. And then I would just see what the attorney thinks there as far as significant changes.
Applicant? Yeah, I wondered the same thing on that. I thought it was interesting that it was conditional. So if we've changed the two
If we
things, is
change
that
those
going
two
to
things,
be?
is that a huge thing? Or?
Yeah, that would be minor enough that it could still
Minor enough.
proceed with those recommendations.
Okay. Okay. Anything else any of you see on that table? Okay.
If no one else has anything, then I would move that we recommend that the city council approve this ordinance change with the exclusion of correctional facilities from the table, and with the change that an office general is a permitted use.
Second it.
Okay, let's have a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Next item, business item E6, discussion and possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating Tocqueville City Code 10-13A, BMP Business and Manufacturing Zone to create an allowed use table, modify physical restrictions and special regulations for business and manufacturing zones. Darren.
So again, these are some cleanup items on this, this zone for the BMP. Business and manufacturing. The background is we discussed this for the planning commission. This draft was addressed in the uses. Again, they wanted to go with the physical restrictions, the special regulations for business manufacturing, and to create that or amend that. So you can amend the table. On that, the proposed changes, I don't know if you guys want me to go through every one of those. There's quite a few of them. If there's a questions on any of them, you've had that in your packet for a while. Essentially, I could just, I get, do you want me to go through all of those, Chairman? Or, sure.
Oh, yeah, let's read through them. Just
Okay.
so
The proposed changes are consolidating the permitted use and conditional uses into an allowed use table. The addition of the following: pest control and extermination as permitted use. The addition of the extraction industries uses as defined in the Chapter 15 of Article D of this title as a conditional use with standards. The addition of other uses similar to the above and judged by the Planning Commission to be in harmony with the character intent of this zone as a conditional use. The reinstatement of bank as a bank or financial institution. The restatement of church as a church or place of worship. The addition of 80 feet unless otherwise approved by condition or a conditional use permit as a minimum frontage requirement under the physical restrictions, revising the minimum lot area from 5 acres to 2,000 square feet. I'll get to that one in just a second. The addition of 3 acres as a minimum zone requirement, and I believe we took that out at the request of the city attorney, correct? Yes. So that was one thing we did not propose changes before, and you'll see that redlined. The reinstatement of 10-13A-4A under the special regulations as increased height, notwithstanding the height limitations in section 10-13A of -3 of this article, greater building heights may be allowed in business or industrial zones pursuant to the conditional use permit. Again, it sounds like you guys had a little bit of questions on that, the minimum area for acreage. So essentially, the reason we did that was because in a commercial, this is part of your commercial, in the general plan, it calls out as being permitted zones would be your commercial, your BMP, your light industrial, and those types of things. In that type of area, you usually don't have lots smaller than half acre, things such as that. But the 5 acres is what it does is if somebody's a BMP, right now we have a proposed subdivision across the freeway, their minimum lot sizes are 5 acres. They have to adhere to that 5 acre parcels or lots. A lot of like Mavericks, they don't need 5 acres. Hampton Inn doesn't need 5 acres. Different uses such as those types of uses don't need that big. And there again, you want to look at the actual permitted and conditional uses in this zone, in that table, to see if you would agree with that. So that's the thought process that went behind that. As we look at most other uses or zones in this type of situation, they are very similar to that they don't always, our highway commercial, you don't have to have any minimum, there's no minimum lot size. And so
1,000 square feet
that's
is
your
a
half acre. Yeah.
Right.
So we just picked that because it was a more obtainable for that type of a situation. Now that would allow somebody to come in and do half acre BMP lots in a subdivision, but there again, they would have to do that. But here's the same thing. Let's say on what's your BMP, you're going to have a 5 acre parcel, and it's going to get subdivided somehow by contract or different things like that. It just makes it more attainable. And, we're willing to take your guys' input. This has just been placed before you as a suggestions by staff. If there's any question there, I guess also about what was changed, the highlights, the yellow highlights are things that we added. Obviously, the red is a remove, and it's just the only removing of it was just to take it away. The minimum zone areas we were just talking about being 3 acres contiguous. We don't have any other zone in the city that requires you to have a minimum area before you can zone it to that, other than the minimum lot size.
Okay. Commissioners, questions?
I'm a stickler on numbers. Half acres, 21,780 square feet, not 20,000.
I get you.
So make it a half acre. It's bugging me.
Well, so our half acre zoning now is our R120.
R120. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah.
The 20,000 square feet was bugging me because it's a little less than a half acre. It just seems odd if you want to make it a half acre.
Yeah, I get you. We can be technical and put it there, definitely. Every time you look at an acre, it's 43,560.
Yeah,
I can't, everybody, what are you talking about? How many square feet there is in an acre?
That's true.
Yeah.
In a section of land, you've got 40 acres, are made up of 40 acre quadrants. And
Yeah.
anyway, that's a little bit too much in the weeds. But no, we
It's just a
if you want
nitpicky
us to change
detail.
that, we
Yeah.
can definitely change that, definitely.
I don't see, anything wrong with just stating half acre instead of square footage, but whatever.
Yeah.
It seems to me it would make it more clear
Yeah, I think the minimum acreage, if we want it, we can put 21, is it 560?
21,780.
780, sorry. I went 43,560 is an acre, sorry. But yeah, we can change that from 20,000.
The other cities think of 20,000 square feet as a half acre. Like, is that an industry standard term in planning?
Not necessarily, no. No, we can put it as half acre or greater. That's still giving you a minimum square footage because everybody knows that well,
Just
not
say
everybody,
half acre, yeah.
in the civil world,
Half acre / 20.
the exact number if you want, yeah.
Yeah, from a drafting style, the city code, when it references half acre, it's the 0.5 acre, like we saw earlier tonight in looking at that. So from a stylistic, if you're trying to keep it uniform throughout the code, I would say just put it a half acre,
It's way easier, yeah.
You bet.
0.5
I
acre.
think makes it more clear. For those of us who don't live and breathe with an acre,
Square
it's so many
footages in our
square
heads.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay,
I deal with square feet every day, so that's why it was
Yeah.
bothering
She
me.
gets paid.
that's right, square feet. Okay, any other questions, comments?
I have questions that are more for after have we done a public hearing on this already?
You have not done a public hearing
No, we
yet?
haven't.
Okay, so
Sure,
I'll just ask them after
let's
that.
do a public, I'm going to open the public hearing on business item E6, discussion of possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating the BMP business and manufacturing zone to create an allowed use table, modify physical restrictions and special regulations for business and manufacturing zones. Public hearing is now open. The hearing is now closed. Okay, any other comments, questions?
My one question is, up at the top in the purpose, it says offices, clean indoor manufacturing facilities, service, retail, restaurants, athletic clubs, medical offices, and research facilities. And then I don't think most of those are in here in the
You are
table.
correct. You are correct.
Do we want them to all be in the table, or were they deliberately left out
It
because
was-
they're mentioned earlier?
They're just mentioned earlier, but we need to put them in a conditional or permitted use table if we're going to include them in
I think it
that.
would make sense
It
to
would.
do that.
It would. That was something that was overseen. Good catch.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, very good catch.
That's my only comment, I guess.
Okay,
Oh, I actually do have another comment and question, which I meant to bring up on the previous business item. I just wanted to hear everyone's thoughts on section,
On the previous.
under the special regulations, down at the bottom of page 4. It says, where any business and manufacturing zone adjoins any residential zone, as part of the required setbacks, there shall be provided and maintained along such property line a 6-foot solid masonry wall and a 10-foot landscape buffer to protect the adjoining residential or agricultural property. The landscape buffer shall include the strategic planting of trees and shrubs to provide adequate screening. And then all landscaping shall comply
So
with the city
I can
code.
tell you where that came from. That basically came from, we spoke with planners at St. George as well as Washington and Hurricane. They're trying to get some sort of a buffer between when you go from a residential to a light industrial or BMP or a commercial, those types of things. There needs to be some sort of a distinction and buffer between that. So that kind of is a copy of what they are doing in some
So
of
it's
their.
consistent with other cities in the area.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
I like it too.
Actually-
I think it sounds good, reasonable.
Okay.
well, then that's a good addition.
But yeah, that's what we just found. And that doesn't have to be in there if you guys want to change that.
No, I like it.
So Matt, is that enough changes that they need to redo that and bring it back to us because they've forgotten the other things?
You're talking about the stated purposes?
No, I'm talking about the uses that's not in the chart.
Yeah.
I would notice it up again. Yeah, it's in the stated purposes, but those are
They're not.
significant and.
I was just going to ask him when we got to there. Yeah.
I would notice that.
Okay. Would you want those as permitted or conditional?
Those are used-
Yeah, if they're in the main purpose of the zone, I would think most of them could
So
be.
would you be okay if we change that then to pull, just strictly pull those out, typical uses, starting at typical uses out of that purpose statement? Because you shouldn't really, I don't think you should have the permitted uses in the purpose statement. Just my thoughts.
And one question for the commission to add comment to. At the end, it says medical offices and research facilities. Do you consider those medical research facilities or just generally research facilities?
What's the difference?
I would say general.
Is that
And
how
have
we
a
should put it in the
conditional-
permitted use or condition?
You think research facilities, we might want it to be conditional in case they're doing some, like,
Strange.
yeah.
Yeah.
Launching
something
rockets,
weird.
trying to get cloud seeding or whatever.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Just general research facilities, but have that be conditional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big condition. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Somebody want
So
to?
what do we move if we want to
Motion?
hold on to this and just, do we table it and bring it back with the, okay, so I move that we table this, make the discussed changes, including moving the typical uses into the table, and then revisit it at the next meeting in which it's available.
I second that.
Okay, take a vote.
Yes?
Sorry,
Oh.
do you want to mention the half acre on the, down here?
Yes,
Changing that?
He said to do
I-
0.5, which
yeah, and change,
Yes, oh, yes,
say
please.
it 0.5
Yeah.
acres. I add that to my
Motion.
motion. To say
Hopefully
0.5
Emily
acres
should know
instead of
this. She's
20,000
over
square
there.
feet.
She is, and then we also watched the YouTube video as well. So we can make those changes.
Thank you.
Now I'll take a vote.
aye.
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 I like how we're moving along today.
Yeah.
Okay, table.
Yeah, this is a lot of business items to cover.
And a
Yeah.
special meeting, what you guys are doing.
Special meeting, it was supposed to be one item.
So much for that.
Might as well get your use out.
It's still only 7 o'clock. We're making good progress.
Daisy and I were, well, Daisy mostly, she says, we've got all these ready. We might as well just throw them on here.
I know, Daisy, it was a lot more on here than what we talked about.
Rip the Band-Aid.
Okay. And add.
Let's just finish it up now.
Yeah, let
Yeah.
me make my,
We're almost
Notes.
there.
Yeah.
2, 3 more things. Oh.
This annex one.
okay, moving on to business item E7, discussion and possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating Tocqueville City Code by eliminating Title 10, Chapter 4, annexation criteria and procedures, and modifying Title 10, Chapter 8, zoning districts and map to reference an annexation policy plan. So Darren, do you want to enlighten us?
So with this on the background, the ordinance that was drafted and due to the new annexation policy that was drafted by Sunrise Engineering, the annexation policies plan content covers those things addressed in the chapter or Title 10, Chapter 4, as recommended to remove the 10-4 from the Tocqueville City Code, so that the new annexation policy plan does not conflict with the city code. Should any amendments be made. Additionally, an ordinance draft has been provided per the Title 10-8, adding and rezoning designation for properties annexed into Tocqueville as per annexation policy plan. So this is kind of like what I kind of want to think of this as we spoke with Sunrise Engineering. Our annexation policy stands as a plan, just like our general plan. Our ordinance should not be the annexation policy. So as we've pulled that out of the action, that's why we're talking about your introduction to this item, is we're pulling it out of the ordinance and making reference to the policy in the ordinance, not making the ordinance as that. Just like what in the general plan is not in our ordinance. Our ordinance references the general plan, and it's a document outside of this. And Daisy has done an extensive review on all of the how we post this, how we have to do public hearings and the different things. And so this is the first step in many steps that we're going to be doing. The first one is to go through the ordinance as we've talked about and clean up the ordinance so that it will fall in line with the policy, the new plan. And we'll have that probably next month. That we'll have the plan and the map. So
Okay.
I don't know.
So are we covered until that happens if we change this now? Or-
So right now, attorney, we don't really have an annexation policy in place. Where the ordinance is referencing really to a document that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, and that's the reality is it's not anything that's effective or beneficial. And then as soon as the annexation policy is adopted, now we've got conflicting between the policy and the ordinance. So my feeling is let's clean this up, pull that reference out, and within the next 30, 60 days, we'll be working through the annexation policy. I'm not aware of any landowner or potential issue that we could come up. If it did, then you would look at whatever the code is
Right.
at the time of a completed application.
Yeah.
But even if it was filed tomorrow, well, this week, it would still be, really, there'd be a lot of ambiguity because the ordinance doesn't give that, so we'd have conflict, and the sooner we can get it resolved.
Yeah.
Good to have the policy coming in, and this is a good time to get this.
And
Do we have anything to do with the policy? Is that something that we're going to look at?
you are going to look at that, and you'll look at the actual map of expansion as well. Daisy, I don't know if you wanted to chime in here a little bit, but the process is to get the ordinance in place correctly first, right? As per the procedure, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we need to reference something.
Yeah.
Sure, is that right? I don't think more than- We've done in the past.
Yeah.
It can be set up that way, and that's what we're doing here is just setting up the code to reference the policy and then bringing the policy.
Okay.
I guess we could have brought it in together, but we just felt that getting it ready first, it'll make it a little bit smoother. And there are some public notification times that are different from your normal public. And then we have to let other municipalities that are adjacent to us, let them know that we're changing our policy, that type of thing. There's different notifications that are required.
All right. Makes sense. Any other comments, questions before we open the public hearing? Okay. I will now open the public hearing on business item E7, amending and restating the Tokerville City Code by eliminating Title 10, Chapter 4, annexation criteria and procedures, and modifying Title 10, Chapter and zoning districts and map to reference an annexation policy plan. If there's anyone that wants to state their opinion, please come to the microphone. You can ask a question if you want to, too.
I will.
Okay.
This for Darren. If we're gonna, Wayne Olson, Tokerville, are we gonna get into amending the general plan to create this annexing?
No, the annexation policy is a complete separate document from the general plan. It's just our policy for if somebody wants to, that's outside of our municipal boundaries, wants to come into Tokerville, it would give them that opportunity. And to go through that process is it's a big process. There again, you have to notify adjacent municipalities or districts, all kinds of things like that to be able to bring those properties in.
We're not changing the map.
We are changing the map.
We are changing the general plan map.
No, sorry, the annexation policy map. There's going to be an additional map. So it will show a boundary map that goes outside of our existing municipal boundary.
Gotcha.
Okay. Anything else, public? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing on item E, business item E7. And commissioners, questions? Comments?
Does the city council have to look at this
Yes.
to initiate all of the stuff that, like the noticing and things to other cities?
Well, staff will make sure that we have everything posted correctly to other cities and notifying. Yes, we have public hearing, but there's, like right now on a zone change. So we have in our ordinances, we require to notify the additional, the property owners within 300 feet. It's kind of the same thing. But it's not on a footage type of thing. It's actual municipalities, different things like that adjoin. And Daisy actually has read state code a little bit more on that than I have. So she has a lot more knowledge on that. And there's
All the public hearing requirements.
Yeah.
in The annexation policy.
Yep.
But council will view this as it's moved forward.
Okay, and you've got the standards for review in there that we abide by as a planning commission is in here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Motion?
yes, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we forward this to the city council for consideration and their approval to comply with the requirements of our current our current owning ordinances and the new policies and criteria that need to be put in place to do it properly and to be within the law.
Have a second?
I second that.
Okay, take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. And business item E8, discussion and possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating Tokerville City Code 10-12B, HC Highway Commercial Zone to create an allowed use table, modify the physical restrictions, and create special regulations within highway commercial zones. Darren?
So here again, we have a lot of cleanup as this came before the March meeting of the Planning Commission. Addresses the physical restrictions, special regulations for the highway commercial zone. The proposed changes are based on a comparison of similar zones from Washington City, Hurricane City, and St. George City. Before Riker left, this is one of those other ones that we set down. You can see the proposed changes. There's quite a few of them. As it sits right now, we have our highway commercial and we had a half a dozen permitted uses. As you can see in the actual ordinance there. And so we just added, so anything that is highlighted in the yellow is added as permitted uses. If there's something there that doesn't look correct to you guys, we're definitely willing to change that. These are, like we said, in the background is it was taken from different cities within Washington County that made sense to us at the time. So essentially that's before you. I don't know, do you want me to go through all of those changes?
No, I don't.
because you guys have had it and you can see the changes. You can see
Right.
the ones that are not highlighted are the ones that were there already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and in addition to all of that, we just did the maximum heights. We went to a 45 feet.
Building.
Yeah, building. We kept everything kind of the same. As you see there, as we were talking before in the other zone, there's not a minimum square footage to build something there as far as parcel sizes and such. Talks about the loan, just everything else, but the special regulations, the setbacks under residential zone kind of is the same as the other zones. We're trying to stay consistent again with that buffer, and a landscape buffer. So we just added that into each one of the zones.
I
Same.
like that the automobile part sales are new parts only, so we're not going to have a
Junkyard.
junkyard.
Yeah.
Noticed that too.
Although there are some nice looking junkyards when they really categorize things.
You have to be new parts though. Can't be used parts.
Yeah, I like that.
The only concern I have, and just correct me, please, it's a permitted use for RV resorts. Currently on the RV resorts, it took us conditional permit. I think that's enough impact, even the one out there in heavy industrial that might be conditional, but the new thing just has it as a permitted use. So
Okay.
I'm just wondering about that. I'm just a little concerned that we have enough protection. Because if we get nailed with a big RV park, you have to permit it, and
Yeah, they would still have to come under all the regulations and things such as that, but we can do that. Putting it as a conditional use.
yeah, I think that needs to be made a conditional use. I was looking at all the others, but
I thought it was a permitted use. Let's see, I'm
it is a
sorry.
permitted use that you have now.
In the existing, it's a permitted use.
You would like to see it as conditional.
Yeah, I'd like to see it conditional.
Like more conditions than the code that we already created, giving them exact conditions that we
It
want?
just says.
You think we should have more conditions than that?
No, I just think it needs to be reviewed, let them come in. Just be
Oh,
reviewed.
okay.
Just so
To make
people-
sure it meets the,
Yeah, if somebody's
The code.
gonna get 750 RVs next to them, instead of just permitting it, they go through the zone change, they get the zone change, but it needs to be conditioned. Because that's probably one of the.
Yeah, and so as you read in our actual RV resort ordinance, there's quite a few regulations in that as well, but I have no problem to change that to a conditional.
That's what I would like to see.
Anything else?
Yeah, the only comment I have on this draft is on the physical restrictions. You'll note, and as Darren commented, 45 feet in height. There is no distinction in terms of number of stories. The idea is we're really trying to watch the elevation of the building, but allow, something like a big box retailer, they're not going to have multiple stories. But height will be a concern there. But then you could have somebody come in and want to build office space or something that'd be multiple levels. But again, we're looking at 45, and I think we even called the fire.
We did. So if you look at Davis, they're almost 45 feet now. They are. So, and then if you go to their parapets are a little bit higher than that. So with that being, and then like the attorney was saying is, we actually spoke with the fire district and the fire marshal to see if this was a concern for what they could actually have physical in the, in their toolboxes, their trucks, their different things such as that. A lot of times they have what they call stand pipes that are out in the parking lot or on the building, those types of things. So and then there's sprinklers, there's all kinds of different things. If you go into a hotel in Hurricane, that one by Dairy Queen, in the stairwells, every floor has a hose with the ability to turn it on and off. So they would fight a fire from the inside rather than the outside.
Mhm.
That's kind of their putting on that, but
The only thing I've noticed that I've seen other small communities run into, and hopefully we won't end up, but at some point, unfortunately, having our own fire department, own sheriff department or something, but that affects your budget and everything if you have to have a ladder truck. I mean, we've had to make companies come in and buy ladder trucks and provide ladder trucks because they exceeded or came in and things like that. And hopefully they have the ladder trucks to get up 45 feet in the shoot gun.
their big truck that they have can fight the fire, is what they were saying, from the outside, as well as the requirements for the inside sprinkling. And, they still have to meet fire code as a commercial grocer, hotel, or whatever.
Yeah, and that was what we had in mind when we reached out to the fire district is there any impact on equipment they'll need? I think they've got at least 2 hotels in Hurricane that the fire district serves that are 4 floors. So they're
And their 4 floors are higher than 45 feet.
Yeah,
well
they
in
would be.
excess.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, the key thing is they do have the equipment, but also they're looking at the design so they can fight it floor by floor, having those connections, either with existing hose or be able to connect their hose that they bring into it.
And you've got the buffer here too, which is under special regulations, which is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Did we open a public hearing on this? We need to open a public hearing. Okay, I will now open the public hearing on business item E8. Discussion and possible recommendations on ordinance 2024.XX, restating the highway commercial zone to create an allowed use table, modify the physical restrictions, and create special regulations within highway commercial zones. Any comment? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing then. And commissioners, any other questions?
No.
I'll take a motion. Dean, since you have the,
I'll make a
One-
motion to send this to the city council for approval with one correction, just the RV resort be as a conditional for further review, but otherwise as it is presented to us this night.
I second that.
okay, and the vote?
Aye.
Okay, wow. We're rocking tonight. We're on business item E9, discussion and possible recommendation on ordinance 2024.XX, amending and restating the Tokerville City Code 10-18B, grading permit to modify the grading review process. Darren,
So the background on this was the draft that applies to all red line. This draft applies to all the red lines stated in the motion from the city council. This draft has been publicly noticed and has gone through legal review. The attorney review was conducted to determine whether the city has the authority to require a bond between the grading bond and issuance of the preliminary plat or building permit. What you see there in the actual ordinances changes is essentially the motion that was asked to look at the permanent as perpetual on that first part there. On the erosion control plan, the addition, if applicable, if applicant or his successor is interest to a transfer of land is not in compliance with any prior engineered grading permit, the applicant shall not be approved. Application shall not be approved. And then the addition of whether the application is compliant or non-compliant for any prior engineering grade plan permit.
Yep.
Basically that, and I think the attorney probably has anything to say about that. You kind of mentioned it in your previous meeting about the
Yeah, we talked about
ruling on
that
that.
before. Of the 3 items, 2 we were able to incorporate that you'll see here. The third one was whether the bond So we looked at that. Essentially, there's state law that says assurances cannot be required for private property when it comes to landscape and improvements. I view that as our grading and the ideas of what was going to be there for the kind of the finished product, whether it's riprap, bonders, bonding. Darren, you got to help me on the technical,
The surety
binders,
bond?
the binders.
Soil binders.
Soil binders, grading, trying to retain that. I view that as essentially a landscape requirement. And that's only permitted for public property, not private. So we do have the assurances through the grading bond itself. There's a retention that can be held in there. And then I think the policy is been heavily in terms of the requirements. So we're getting those protections. And if for some reason the policy falls short or needs to be amended, then between staff and getting the council, that policy can be updated. And if there's any violation of the existing policy for that permanent erosion control, then you have then court enforcement, which I think from a monetary standpoint gives a lot more, I don't know if bandwidth or buys or resources to address it. Because one of the issues is if you have a bond, you're trying to project whatever that is. But if there's an ongoing violation, they're steep. The schedule in terms of violations, it can get steep and it can get fast. So I think with the policy in conjunction with the idea that if there's somebody out there trying to get multiple applications and we want to stop bad actors from continuing that, hey, you're not in compliance with an existing one, even if you sold your property and the successor, that buyer owns it and they're not in compliance, we're not going to let you come back in. You need to make sure that you're complying with the permanent erosion control plan, and we want to encourage good actors.
Yeah.
And also you've got the code enforcement element of that, and those fees and fines can add up quickly.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions, comments before we go to our public hearing?
I think this makes perfect sense.
I know they discussed it a lot in city council. I was there, and I thought all of these changes were good.
Yep, hopefully we got this where the city council will be happy with it.
Yeah.
And it's a good working document that can be enforced and protect, not be a burden on the excavation ordinance.
Okay. I will open the public hearing on business item E9, amending and restating Tokerville City Code 10-18B grading permit to modify the grading review process. Anyone have comment? Negatory. Okay, I'm closing the public hearing on this business item. And commissioners, do you have any more comments?
I do have one small suggestion.
Okay.
In 1018B-3, standards for review, the initial paragraph ends with, and shall be designed to, : and then it says minimize, eliminate, limit, but items E and F say whether as the beginning of the sentence, and it doesn't, it reads funny to me. If you do, so shall be designed to whether or not the proposed grading. They are, both of those items still are standards for review, but I think that they should be, the grammar should be corrected. So it could say something like, shall be designed to meet the following standards. And then you can leave it as is. Or you could say, like F, you could say, the applicant is compliant for any prior engineered grading permit. The proposed grading will occur within, or will not occur. Do you guys get what I'm saying?
Yep.
I just think it would read more clearly.
Yeah, that doesn't.
But I don't think it's a major change. I think it's just a grammar change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we agreed. Okay. Do you want some verbiage to suggest some verbiage, or do you want us to just change those one words at the beginning to be,
I think we can put it.
take out the word whether and put the applicant is shall be compliant.
I think we can put it in Emily's capable hands. We'll run with it.
What?
Okay.
Just make it make sense.
Okay.
She can handle it.
Okay.
Unless you guys want to give us suggestions or,
No,
Okay.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
okay.
It's just
Just want to make sure.
Okay.
Jenny's like,
a grammar correction.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I move that we recommend that the city council approve this ordinance with the discussed changes as updated by Emily.
I'll second it. Amen.
Okay, vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Woo-hoo. Okay. And I'll take a recommendation.
I move that we adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second?
Second. Okay.
Aye.
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 Yay. Yay.
Good job. I thought we were going to.
We are
Oh, my wife
done.
was
This
here
meeting
about
is
10.
closed at
oh,
7:36.
Good job.
No, you guys can spend 3 hours